Former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is in the eyes of a storm over alleged mishandling of the COVID pandemic under his leadership. A damning report by a public inquiry says that Boris Johnson oversaw a toxic, chaotic, and dithering response to the COVID pandemic with a delay to locking the country down, resulting in about 23,000 more deaths. The report has found that the UK government's COVID response was, quote, too little, too late. It says Boris Johnson failed to grasp the calamity facing the country and delayed crucial action in early 2020.
Also, the failure to lock down earlier may have cost lives. Had the lockdown been imposed 1 week earlier than the 23rd of March, the evidence suggests that the number of deaths in England alone in the first wave up until the 1st of July 2020 would have been reduced by 48%. That is approximately 23,000 fewer deaths.
The public report says that the first national lockdown was imposed too late and that 23,000 lives could have been saved if it had been announced just 1 week earlier. It adds that draconian lockdowns could have been avoided entirely if ministers had acted faster in February of 2020. The inquiry blames a toxic, sexist, and chaotic culture at the heart of government, led in part by Dominic Cummings, which the report says undermined the Prime Minister's authority. Taking on Johnson, Baroness Hallett, who led the inquiry, says Johnson did not seek to restrain Cummings, nor did he exercise proper leadership in rectifying the toxic and chaotic culture adversely affecting decision-making. Hallett in the report says Downing Street was riddled with fear, suspicion, and distrust. In fact, Boris Johnson's tenure as Prime Minister ended in July of 2022, partly due to the, quote, Partygate scandal, in which he was found guilty of breaking COVID-19 rules by attending a gathering to celebrate his birthday. The report criticizes then Health Secretary Matt Hancock and top official Chris Wormland for failing to correct misleading claims about the government's preparedness. Overall, the inquiry says thousands of the UK's 227,000 COVID deaths were avoidable, adding that an earlier lockdown could have cut first-wave deaths by 48%. The report says the lockdown undoubtedly saved lives, but left lasting scars on society, disrupting childhood, damaging the economy, and delaying non-COVID treatment. The COVID-bereaved Families for Justice group says the findings showed Johnson put his political reputation ahead of public safety. The report makes 19 key recommendations and warns that without urgent reform, the UK risks repeating the same mistakes. These recommendations include ensuring that decisions and their implications are clearly communicated to the public, need for greater parliamentary scrutiny of the use of emergency powers, as well as improved consideration in emergency of the impact that decisions might have on those most at risk. Prime Minister Keir Starmer says the government will carefully consider the findings and respond soon. UK records more than 230,000 deaths from COVID, a similar death rate to the United States and Italy, but higher than elsewhere in Western Europe, and it is still recovering from the economic consequences.